I never believed in ghosts. I thought all those stories about haunted places were made up. Just things people tell around a campfire to make the night more interesting. But after what happened to me in that abandoned house, I can't say that anymore, because I lived it, and somehow I survived. It started one rainy evening last October. I was driving back from my cousin's place through a remote village road in the north. My car broke down, engine light flickering, battery almost dead. There was no signal on my phone, and darkness was closing in fast. The only building around was this old, crumbling house sitting at the end of a dirt path, half hidden behind tall grass and leafless trees. At first, I didn't want to go near it. Every instinct in me said don't. But the rain turned into a downpour, and thunder rolled so close that it shook the ground beneath my feet. I told myself I'd just stay inside until the rain passed, just for a few minutes. I pushed open the gate. It squealed like something in pain, and walked up the path. The door was slightly open, swaying with the wind. I called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" Nothing, just the sound of rain hammering the roof. The air inside smelled of rot and dust. My flashlight beam caught cobwebs thick as curtains and furniture draped in white sheets. The silence was so deep it hurt my ears. I closed the door behind me. I don't even know why. And as soon as it clicked shut, the air around me changed. The sound of the storm outside seemed to vanish, replaced by something softer, like whispering. At first I thought it was the wind, but then the whispers formed words. "You came back." I froze. The voice was faint, a woman's voice, fragile and trembling. "Hello?" I called again, my voice cracking. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Something moved upstairs. A slow, deliberate creak, then another. Footsteps. I told myself maybe it was an animal or someone else taking shelter. But part of me knew, deep down, that it wasn't. I should have left right then. But fear has this strange way of locking you in place. I climbed the stairs, one shaky step at a time. My flashlight flickered with every heartbeat. At the top was a hallway lined with doors. One of them, the last one on the left, was slightly open. Light spilled from inside. I pushed the door open. It was a child's bedroom. Tiny bed, pink wallpaper, shelves full of old toys. Everything was covered in dust except one thing. A porcelain doll sitting upright on the bed, perfectly clean. Her blue glass eyes were shining in the dim light, and her painted smile looked wrong, too wide, too alive. Then I heard it, a little girl's laugh, soft, close. I swung my flashlight around. No one. But when I turned back to the bed, the doll's head had turned. She was looking at me. I stumbled back, hitting the dresser. A picture frame fell to the floor. Inside it was a photo. A family of 3. A man, a woman, and a little girl holding that same doll. They looked happy, but someone had scratched deep red lines over their faces, except for the dolls. And then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Under the picture, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "She wanted to play forever." The lights in the room began to flicker. The doll slid off the bed, not fell, slid. Like invisible hands were lowering it gently to the floor. That was it. I ran out, but as I turned down the hallway, every door began to open, one after another. Bang, bang, bang. From each room came the sound of laughter, crying, whispering, voices overlapping in a chaos that made my skin crawl. I dashed downstairs, but the front door was shut tight. I pulled at it with all my strength. It wouldn't budge. That's when I saw something in the reflection of the glass. A woman standing behind me. Her skin was gray, her hair dripping wet as if she'd come out of the rain, but her feet left no water on the floor. She was wearing an old white dress stained dark around the chest, and her eyes, they were completely black. She whispered in a rasping voice, "Why did you leave her?" I spun around. Nobody there, but the smell, that awful stench of decay, hung in the air. I covered my nose and turned toward the kitchen, hoping to find another way out. The kitchen door creaked open on its own. Inside, everything was rotten. Plates covered in mold, flies buzzing over something dark in the sink, and then, behind me, the sound of small footsteps. I turned slowly, flashlight trembling. The little girl from the photo was standing there. Her dress was dirty, torn. Her hair hung in front of her face. She was holding the doll. "Mommy says you shouldn't be here," she said in a soft, sing-song voice. "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I didn't mean to come in. My car," she looked up at me. Her eyes were empty sockets. "You left me here," she whispered. I stepped back, but the floor groaned. And then, without warning, it gave way. I fell straight through into the darkness below. When I came to, I was lying on the cold concrete of what looked like a basement. My leg hurt badly, maybe broken. The air was damp, metallic. I could barely breathe. My flashlight had cracked, but it still gave off a weak light. That's when I saw what was around me. There were toys, dozens of them, scattered across the floor. Dolls, teddy bears, wooden soldiers, and between them, bones, tiny bones. I crawled toward the wall and saw writing, scratched deep into the concrete with something sharp. "She keeps them where it's dark." My body went cold. I heard something dragging across the floor behind me, a slow scrape. When I turned, the woman was there again. The one in the white dress? Only now I could see her face, half rotted, one cheek hanging loose, her mouth twisted into a snarl. "She wanted to play forever," she hissed. And from behind her, dozens of small figures began to emerge from the shadows. The children. Their faces pale, their eyes black like hers, all holding dolls. They surrounded me, whispering, chanting, "Stay and play. Stay and play," I screamed. I don't remember much after that. The next thing I knew, I was outside, lying in the mud. The sun was rising. My car was parked just where I'd left it, like nothing had happened. The house looked quiet, peaceful. I thought maybe I had dreamed it all, a concussion maybe. But when I looked down, my clothes were torn, my leg was bleeding, and in my pocket was that porcelain doll. I threw it as far as I could and sped away. I didn't stop driving until I reached the city. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. Every night I heard the same tapping sound from my walls. Tap, 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 the same pattern I heard that night. I tried to tell myself it was the pipes or the wind, but one night I woke up to find muddy footprints leading from my window to my bed, and on my pillow was the doll. I burned it. I swear I did. But the next morning, it was sitting on my kitchen table. I left that apartment the next day. I moved halfway across the country. But sometimes, when it rains, I hear the same child's laugh, faint and distant. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still hear her whisper, "You came back." I later learned from an old local newspaper that the house once belonged to a family, the Holts, who vanished in 1972. The mother, Amelia Holt, reportedly lost her daughter in an accident. The child drowned in a well behind the property. A week later, Amelia was found dead inside the house, clutching that same porcelain doll. No one ever found the father. The house has been abandoned ever since. Locals say they still see lights in the windows or hear laughter echoing from the fields. Some claim the girl's ghost plays in the yard at night, waiting for her mother to come back. But I know the truth. She doesn't wait for her mother. She waits for anyone who steps inside, because that house isn't just haunted. It's hungry, and once it knows your name, it never forgets. Pause. Breathing softly, voice trembling. I wish I could say I moved on. But even now, when the lights flicker, or I hear small footsteps in the hall, I feel her eyes on me. I've started to wonder, maybe I never really left that house. Maybe part of me is still there, in the dark, and maybe someday when you hear a knock on your door late at night, tap, 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 you'll remember my voice, because if you do, it might be too late to run, but not too late to subscribe